Wait, remember Fighting Foodons? Because I sure do. Man, this show just likes to hang out in the weird corner of my brain that is only used to faintly remember things I probably don't need to remember. But since I remember it, now it's time for you to remember it as well. You most likely can recall the name or the look of the show thanks to it falling into the category of shows that were part of the infamous 4Kids TV Foxbox lineup. Yeah, it's exactly what you'd think a show from the early 2000s era would be about, collecting creatures and battling said creatures. So it's not breaking the mold here with anything new, but its unique twist is that it's all food related. But I don't know how hungry you're going to be from watching it. Basically, you have these chefs and cooks that act as the trainers, and their food creations become these fighting creatures. Yes, there you have it. Fighting Food-ons. Fighting Food-mons just wouldn't cut it. Overall, it is an odd show, and for me growing up, it was even weirder. Like I said, I saw it on the 4Kids Foxbox programming block. So that means it came complete with the whole 4Kids dubbing extravaganza. So it had basically all of the same voice actors from the other shows voicing roles in this series, and man, I'm surprised my kid brain could even take it all in and not just be confused. Regardless, let's take a look back in time and go over what Fighting Foodons was all about, where it all started, and see what happened to it in the end. If we take a look back to the origins of this recipe, it's no surprise to see that it originally started off as a manga series. Created by Naoto Tsushima, Kakuto Ryori Densetsu Bistro Recipe, or martial arts cooking legend Bistro Recipe, was serialized in the monthly released comic Bonbon, gaining its own fair share of popularity while only ever producing a total of 2 standalone volumes of manga. The next step was to branch off from the manga and into the other aspects of entertainment. First, it was translated into a few video games, 2 of which were on the Game Boy Color and the other on the WonderSwan. The WonderSwan version of the game released in 1999 gives the biggest clue to the series being in the style of a creature collector and battler, only in more of a parody way. Beyond this, the Game Boy Color games that also released around the same time really put it out there that they were doing the whole Pokemon thing specifically, because the 2 versions were a red version and a green version, both only having slight differences from one another, and I mean, come on, look at this, and now look at this. As Avril Lavigne once said, could I make it any more obvious? The game is more of the same, it's basically Pokemon, but with food. That fight! So that's great and all, but come 2001, Fighting Foodons would be adapted into an anime that would run a total of 26 episodes, ending its run on TV in Japan by the end of June 2002. So how did it come to the US? Well, Inoki Films, the studio who held the license for Bistro Recipe, wanted to expand where the property could go. I mean, the story of Pokemon becoming a success had everyone scrambling for the next Pokemon. So then why not just go directly to the same people that had brought the Pokemon anime over and helped it reach so many eyes to become what it was? 4Kids Entertainment. 4Kids were the people to deal with for this kind of thing, as that could be seen from all of the programming that made its way to the Foxbox and beyond that, 4Kids TV. So a deal was struck and 4Kids would do their 4Kids thing and adapt the 26 episodes of the series, you know, making edits that they deemed necessary, but most importantly, being the ones in charge of the dubbing process. This led to the roster of voice actors across everything 4Kids dubbed, like Pokemon, to now be scattered throughout this series, which would now be called Fighting Foodons. And you could watch this show with your eyes closed and think you're watching a number of other shows. Pick one. But either way, Bistro Recipe or Fighting Foodons was now here in the US.
Fighting Foodons, coming up next.
Fighting Foodons.
So what is Fighting Foodons aside from the basics that we know or could assume just by looking at it? Well, it's the story of Chase, a 10-year-old with the dreams of becoming a chef. But I don't think you know what that means in the context of the show here. See, being a chef here is being able to create these magical dishes of food that go from ingredients to full-on creatures called Foodon. So yes, the Foodon do be fighting Foodon. I'm sorry, I'll try to stop doing that. Anyway, for Chase here, he wants to be just like his father and become a master chef.
Disgusting.
No, not that type of master chef, but one that is a champion at cooking up these Foodon and winning fights. Yes, it really is structured initially to sound exactly like Pokemon. You gotta love 4Kids. They were really good at trying to be part of the next Pokemon while Pokemon was already Pokemon for them, but the Foxbox was their thing and Kids WB wasn't, even if they initially got the deal for Pokemon to be over there. Either way, this world that the show has created has its own set of rules to make things work here, and the rules aren't the best because of the ruler King Gorge. There's going to be non-stop food puns or food-related naming schemes throughout every aspect of what this show is, so I'm sorry in advance. King Gorge here rules with an iron pan, controlling the population through food force. He's evil and overthrew the previous King Oslo, who now pals around with Chase. Oslo serves as a mentor towards Chase, thanks to him having been a Foodon master himself. Those two, plus Chase's younger sister Kayla and another young kid named Pai Tin, are running around as the group who is trying to put a stop to King Gorge's evil doings. The show really throws you into all of this really fast. The lore that the show fills you in on is that a long time ago, this magical item called a meal ticket, which could be yada-yada'd into comparing it to be a bit like a Pokeball or like a playing card or whatever, basically just a device to get the Foodons to exist. So back when a king wanted to see which of his food options to eat was stronger, and these chefs were just kind of like, huh, what do you mean by that? There was one who wasn't, who oddly knows exactly what the king is saying. That's weird. Revealing then the meal ticket and its power to bring the food to life as these creatures that would now be known as Foodon, and then pit them against each other to fight to see which dish was stronger. Part of this sounds so cool, part of this sounds so stupid the more you try to follow the unexplained bits of the logic. But whatever, you get the gist of it. Foodons are created by chefs who bring them to life with meal tickets. Now, at least for the overall plot, we do get a bit of something different that makes it stand out from all of the other Pokemon-related comparisons. So yes, while there are creatures to battle with, there's at least something else the main group here are working towards, and that's stopping the king. Okay, so even in saying that, that's not super original, but at least there's a cool cast of characters, like Chef Jack, who is the one who truly leads the rebellion to stop the king. He's the Foodon master of a father to Chase and Kayla, but plays into himself gone missing by taking up the secret identity of Chef John, giving him a chance to be in his kids' lives and help out without making it feel like he was helping out, despite, you know, helping out. Look, he may be a master chef, but he's not a great father. He's not really teaching his kids, or more importantly Chase, any real lessons by aiding and training him, but then doing that in disguise for them all to learn to do all of this without their father's aid. So you see the problem here, right? He's still aiding them? I don't know, it's kind of confusing. He's also palling around with his own student that isn't his kid named Coco, and that's just kind of messed up to not be around in your kid's life over whatever random reasons you come up with, whether it's to teach them to do things on their own or to keep them safe, but then also be training this other kid. I mean, I guess it works out for Chase in the end because Coco and him each have a little thing for each other, so alright, never mind. Thanks, Dad. Aside from them, there's another character who plays an essential role in being the continuing side villain that is frequently at odds with our main group here, as she serves the king and always tries to stop Chase and the others. Her name is Claudia, and yes, she is a cat girl, but only at the cost of being turned into one by the king himself, to where she now serves him. If you're looking for a comparison to Pokemon here, she's basically Team Rocket wrapped up into one character, constantly showing up, constantly failing, and constantly just being a nuisance for Chase and the others to have to deal with for the majority of the series. Whew, but eating all this food and having no drink to wash it all down doesn't sit right with me. Luckily, I have some Gamersubs right here to solve that problem. If you'd like some too, you can head over to Gamersubs by clicking the link in my description, and then by using my code FRINGE, you can get 10% off any purchase you ever make for yourself. There's tons of great flavors, both new and old, and lots of great other things like their shaker cups, merch drops, and so much more. Use my code FRINGE every time you purchase anything from Gamersubs, and you'll save 10% off your order. It helps support the channel, and you save some money. So use my code FRINGE at checkout. I really appreciate you. The whole series, though, isn't just following this plot to stop the king, as we get to see this world get expanded upon, visiting new areas, getting involved in different situations, and oh yeah, having the Foodons fight. How could we forget about that? If you want to know the best part about the series, it definitely would be this aspect of it. I mean, the fights are kind of fun, and getting to see an array of different food creations come to life and take one another on is pretty cool, but outside of that, things do feel a bit weird, especially for what it's going for, and that's to mimic the feeling that shows like Pokemon, Digimon, and even Yu-Gi-Oh have. So it leads to situations where we have these downtime bonding moments with a person and their Foodon, and it's one thing when it's Kayla and her Foodon Omelette, which is this cute little creature-like fella, and it's another when it's Chase and his Foodon Fried Ricer, who looks like a dude with a plate of fried rice for a head. It just leads to moments that feel weird because that's just a dude who has another dude who he treats as a pet that fights for him. If anything, at least it could be kind of funny sometimes. The designs of the Foodon in general range from, oh wow, that's pretty cute, to, oh, okay, that's kind of unique, to, that's just a dude. And also, keeping in line with Pokemon, they just say their names, which again, sometimes is cute and sometimes is weird. Here, I hope this meme I made helps. sweet. Hello, human resources? There are some standout Foodon for me because of their name and designs that I just like because I find them funny, like Spaghetti About It, Hot Dog on It, and of course, who could forget Shrimp Daddy? Please keep Josh away.
Have you ever seen one this big? Oh my god!
Honestly, the best thing that the series could benefit from is more Foodon. There's millions of ideas that can come out of this, I'm sure, and I'm still hungry for more, but only in that aspect because aside from that, the show doesn't have a lot to work with. I mean, its origins come from a 2-volume manga series, so for groundwork of the show, there's not a lot of source material to build from, and after being turned into an anime, you can feel how stretched thin they are on content to fill the story with just these initial 26 episodes. If there was some time spent making the series build upon itself, focus on some fresh ideas, do more with the world and concept that's been established, I feel that there could have been something a lot more special than what we got. But since there is not a lot of substance, it quickly turns to filler and thus making the series itself feel like the filler that just plays in between other stuff on the Fox box. Now, that doesn't mean that I hate it or think that the show is truly awful in any way. It just feels like a whole bunch of wasted potential as it was too focused on replicating what had been shown to be successful rather than finding something that could be the key to becoming its own success. So in the end, what happened to the series?
Fighting Foodons coming up later this morning.
Combat creatures you can cook.
Clearly, Fighting Foodons didn't last longer than one season, and honestly, that's okay. It premiered on the Fox box September 14th, 2002, not far after it finished airing in Japan, and by August of the following year, it was taken off of the lineup completely. The only other attempt to have Bistro Recipe go anywhere was doing the same thing with how it came to the US, but only now in China, where the series would undergo its own changes over there and go by the name Kung Fu Snacks. But anyway you slice it, this meal was just overcooked. Sorry, look, if the show can get away with scripts filled with so many corny food puns, then I can at least fill mine with a few for watching the whole show, okay? Fighting Foodons just spends too much time trying to be the parody it originally was presented as in the manga in the video games, and it didn't try to then establish anything else beyond it. Yeah, it's funny to point out the references being made, but when the highlight of most episodes is just pointing out the reference to something else you'd rather be watching, then what's the point? I still enjoy a good portion of the series. There are moments from plenty of the episodes that stand out as good or unique, like they have their own mechanics for having evolution-like forms that sometimes come out to play, special fusion forms, and like this 5-star one that's still many Michelin stars short of where Gordon Ramsay's at.
Disgusting.
So like, what's even the point anymore, man? Jokes aside, these moments were cool and should have been properly expanded upon to be these more incredible moments, but they just didn't. There sadly just isn't enough here to give the go-ahead and recommend many of you to check it out. It's only 26 episodes long. The series doesn't build up enough for you to want more than that, and it makes me sad to see a fun concept only stay as just that, a concept, rather than figuring out exactly what it wanted to be. It continues to have this identity crisis from episode to episode that ultimately ends up only giving you very few satisfying moments for sticking with it to the end. Claudia, for me, is the payoff that made me care at all because she's a character who is only this antagonist because she's been transformed and brainwashed into this cat girl servant. But right near the end of the series, our heroes of the story here end up saving her after King Gorge is torturing her for failing once again. Chase jumps at the chance to help Claudia despite all that she has tried to do, and he ends up cooking her a regular plate of fried rice and feeding it to her, and boom, she surprises everyone by turning into a human once more whose name is Dia, and has no clue what's been going on this entire time. It's a nice moment for her character as, yeah, sure, we saw her as this bad guy, but through her failing and being treated the way that she was, we got to feel for her a bit, and it turned out to be great for her in this moment as the heroes, well, did something heroic. I just felt something at this moment as opposed to any other moment from the show. If the series had more heart to it, gave more depth to the main characters, and didn't pad the runtime here and there with random bits of musical numbers and trying to have a catchphrase like "the kitchen is open," then I do think Fighting Foodons would have had a fighting chance. It misses the other core components that make something like this more impactful to younger audience to truly give it a chance, and it's the stuff that basically everything else out there, especially at this time, tried to do as well, and that's extending the brand out. Where were the video games in the US? Where was a possible trading card game? How about any action figures? Like, hello? But I guess that's why we're told to not play with our food, right? Anyway, these are just my thoughts on Fighting Foodons, and I'd love to know yours. Did you ever give the series a chance? Did you have a favorite Foodon? Let me know all of that and more in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe for more videos coming soon, but until then, later.